I'm very grateful that you took the time to tune in to today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Listen, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real relevant and relatable content on today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Everyone, yes, it's the Kim Jacobs Show, and today we have with us David Orozco, and he is with SettleShark. So we are so honored to have you here today. How are you, David?
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to be here today. Listen, when we're talking about balancing our lives, this show is all about how you do some level of managing, juggling, balancing, and trying to figure out how to keep your head above water throughout this thing called life, right? I want you all to grab your virtual seats because today we're going to learn how to demand our money back, right?
Absolutely.
That's something that helps if we're in the process of dealing with some issues and we know that we're in the right, but we're trying to figure out how to handle it properly. Mm-hmm. He's going to tell us how to go about properly demanding that we get our funds back in our possession. Can anybody benefit from that? I know I can. I can. So as you come in, make sure you type where you're visiting in from. Share the broadcast. Let people know that this is going to be a topic that probably will add some better mental balance to your life because you'll be able to have your finances and things back in your possession versus just out there in the abyss. So let us know where you're visiting in from today. And we look forward to having a great conversation with David. Let me introduce David to you formally because I have a great bio here from you. David Orozco has a JD from Northwestern University School of Law and is a tenured professor at a leading national research university. He has practiced DIY, do-it-yourself law for many years and enjoys helping folks reach successful outcomes in situations where legal problems meet the business world. Legal problems meeting the business world. He successfully applied his DIY knowledge to win battles against insurance, moving, and car rental companies. Oh, that's just to name a few. So welcome, David, to the Kim Jacobs Show.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right in. Grab your notepads, grab your pens. Let's go. David, tell us, first of all, what even made you interested in this particular field? Because this takes a special kind of person to want to do this.
So, it kind of goes back to teaching. I've been teaching for 16 years now, 13 years at my current institution, which is Florida State University, go Noles, in Tallahassee, Florida. And my students would come after class. They would ask me tough, questions and give me scenarios that were tough, related mainly to landlord-tenant disputes that they were having, bad scenarios where they weren't getting treated fairly. Mm-hmm. So I did what I've done for many years, which is DIY law, what I call. Funny story, it's a little sidetrack. I graduated from Northwestern in 2004. Okay. I never sat for the bar. I went straight into academia, which is very unusual.
Yes.
I was blessed beyond belief to get mentors who advised me and gave me opportunities. And I took a jump and went into academia instead of taking a very lucrative law firm job offer in hand that I had. So I never sat for the bar, which made me always think in terms of off my feet, how do I solve these problems, right? For myself, right? Which is totally fine. You don't have to hire a lawyer if you don't want to. Right. You can figure things out, do things yourself, but it's very difficult. And it was very difficult for me getting to SettleShark, but first talking about these students, that they would come to me after class, tell me about these scenarios. So I would literally look up the law. And I would look up things like the Florida landlord-tenant statute here in Florida.
Okay.
And little known, it's crazy the way the law works. There's so much there that can help people, but there's a big gap in terms of getting the help and understanding how the law is there to help people. Mm-hmm. And when I read the statute, it blew me away because there's a lot of rights that tenants have here in the state of Florida that they don't even know about. So, for example, the statute says, and I'm paraphrasing, it says, if the landlord doesn't meet important terms of the lease, or if they break, if they violate some kind of health regulation or safety code, you can get out of the lease if you send them a demand letter.
Yes.
And the demand letter basically has to be in writing. There's some procedure. And the other thing I've learned, over the years is that the law is 90% procedure. You have your rights, which are great, but if you don't follow the process, you lose automatically. You're out of the game.
Right.
So the procedure says here in Florida, you have to send your landlord a written demand letter stating the nature of the problem, why they're not in compliance with any one of those things that we just talked about.
This is some good stuff.
And how if they don't correct this mistake or problem in 7 days, you can get out of your lease. That blew me away. Nobody knows about that. And, the other thing I learned about the law, which is fantastic, is that it's not just about process. It's also about good faith.
Right.
About ethics. Giving the other side an honest attempt to fix the mistake following the procedure is a natural component of the law.
Okay.
Give them a good faith chance to rectify the situation and do what's right under the law, right? It's all process, right? And ethics. A lot of my students would use that and use it for their benefit. They would practice, DIY law.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really filled me with a lot of happiness to know that the law is there. It can help people. It's empowering. And it's really revolutionary if you think about it. But yet our system isn't designed to achieve these kind of goals for regular people. And that's what blew me away, right? This whole idea that, okay, we have this great legal system on paper. It all sounds great, but people are suffering. They're not achieving justice in everyday situations. I love the title of your show and your mission, your mantra, which is let's achieve balance, right?
Yes.
Well, the law is all about balance. When I teach my students, I show them the picture of Lady Justice holding the scales of justice.
That's right.
It's all about balance. And yet we're so off balance that I felt like we needed something to help average people, right?
I love that. And, I hear myself back in the video. I don't know if you can hear, but I absolutely love the fact that you were just trying to help the common everyday folk that would normally have difficulty dealing with the legal system. And you are going to do the legwork for them, going straight into academia and being able to find solutions. So you really found a need. And people often say that when you're an entrepreneur, you find a need and you fill it. We hear that all the time. You literally did that. You found the need, which is for everyday people that need to know how to be able to fight their own battles, and you filled that need. That is incredible. Dr. Tina Ramsey from CTR Media Network is here, and she said this is great information. And you all definitely check out CTR Media Network. We stream with CTR Media Network in 100 countries and 350 million households. She says, helping everyday people get your money back. Yes, thank you so much for being here, and share the broadcast if you will. Vanita is also on, and she said, good morning from Florida. Glad to have you, Vanita, tuned in today. And you all ask your questions. Maybe you're dealing with some things and you want to ask questions. Go ahead and ask them.
I know Latha. Hello. So the other interesting thing, getting back to your question, was it was the students that triggered this whole mentality of do-it-yourself law to help people in the consumer space.
Okay.
But then I myself had to do this for my own well-being, because companies would do unethical things and they wouldn't honor the promises that they had made. And I suffered several situations that made me have to really get into the trenches myself, not just to help students, but to do it for myself, to get out of these scenarios, right? The first one was a service provider who billed me this exorbitant amount. I challenged it and we settled, right? Which was great. Another one was a car rental company, one of the big chains, that wanted to charge me something like $3,000 for damages that I was not responsible for.
Okay.
And they kept sending me threatening collections, letters saying this is going to go to collections. It's going to ruin your credit. We might litigate. I had to put a stop to that, right? Mm-hmm. The other one was a moving company. Like I said, totally messed everything up. They lost things. They I'm not gonna lie, they put the goods in storage for almost a month.
Oh my goodness.
They put the goods in a warehouse for a month, and our goods were in limbo for a month. I mean, it was just absurd what happened, right? And I was supposed to pay for that, right? You know, and then the other one was an insurance company that didn't want to pay me the claim that I submitted that they were legally responsible for. These are big companies.
Crazy.
I know. And these are big companies that have a lot of money, they have a lot of power, they have lawyers. I'm just a consumer. Now, it turns out I understand the law, but I was still lost
And
in
this is
that
you.
process.
You're talking about somebody. I'm taking notes
Right.
here. This is somebody that officially
Yeah.
knows the law. You're a
Yeah.
professor. You've gone through all the details of being able to do this, and you still struggle yourself. So can you imagine?
Lost.
Can you imagine us?
Exactly, which is why I started SettleShark. I co-founded it. But originally I was like, this is really hard. This is not straightforward. I have to look up statutes. I have to figure out what a demand letter is.
Right.
And it wasn't straightforward, right? And I had to figure it out. I had to do it. And I ended up figuring out some of the tricks, basically. And again, one of the reasons why I now tell people the law is 90% process is because your rights are there on paper, but unless you know how to execute following the strict rules of procedure, you're going to get nowhere with these companies.
Right.
And in fact, their whole business model and their whole MO is to ignore you, ghost you, lie to you, give you the runaround, tell you they're going to get back to you. They don't. They're going to say, oh, you got to go talk to this person. It's on this company. They give you the complete runaround, right? And they don't want to do what's right, which is basically a lot of times what it boils down to is the contract that you have signed with them. They're not honoring the terms of it, or they have liability and they don't want to basically compensate you for the injury that you've sustained.
I know I have so many questions myself that I want to get asked throughout this broadcast too. And I want to make sure, guys, that if you all in the virtual studio audience have specific questions, he's here free of charge to talk to us about these type of scenarios. So ask your questions, okay? And share the broadcast. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to hear more from David with SettleShark and hear how we can demand our money. That's going to help us with better balancing some kind of at least mental resolve in our lives, okay? And hopefully put some more finances back in our pocket. So
Absolutely.
We'll be right back right after our first episode sponsor, which is attorney Charles Everidge with Hunter Everidge Law Firm. They're in the North Carolina, South Carolina, Richmond, Virginia area, and the Alabama area. So make sure that you all reach out to hunter-everidge.com and let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way if they're dealing with disability, long-term, if somebody did a wrongful suit, again, wrongful death of a loved one of yours, definitely reach out to them. And if you're dealing with workers' compensation, or even you've been denied for disability, definitely give them a call, 704-251-2945. Let's play their commercial now.
When someone has lost a loved one, they want to know what exactly happened. They want to know, is the other person going to be held responsible? And they want closure. At Hunter & Everidge, we help clients that have lost a loved one move on, and to do that with dignity and respect that they deserve.
Again, that's Hunter Everidge Law Firm, and let them know we sent you over to them. Listen, David, you're dealing with this, and like I said, you are an expert at this.
Yeah.
I wanted to find out, I can share a couple of scenarios. One is, what if there is a company that there's this company, something happened with the company, and the person that you may have been dealing with is just a representative of the company. How does that work with the representative of the company that now the company itself folded and the people are reaching out to the person that was working to do some things on behalf of that company, but they are not the company? What do you do in those kind of scenarios?
Right. So that's just another layer of the complexity behind all this. And one layer is, are you speaking to somebody who has authority to negotiate a settlement? That's one thing I learned right off the bat, is you have to bring things up and escalate them up to a person within the organization who has the authority to say, okay, you know what? We messed up. We're going to make things right. Here's how we can reach an agreement. You may not get everything you want, but we'll reach a fair settlement, right? And you're going to be okay with that, and we'll be okay with it, and we'll negotiate it. It's really all about negotiations at the end of the day, and understanding the process, right? And your rights. So speaking to somebody very clearly and saying, do you have the authority to compensate me for what I'm asking for?
Right.
If that person says no, then you say, okay, well, I need to speak to the person who has that authority.
Okay.
Another very important thing is to make sure that your communications are very clear, but also that there's a record of these things, right? So email is fantastic because it literally creates a transcript with a timestamp. And all of that can later be used if you're going to go to something like arbitration.
Okay.
To say, look, I communicated with the company. I, in good faith, attempted to resolve this. I gave them the chance, right? Just like how the Florida statute says you have to send in a written demand letter.
Right.
It's all about that. There has to be some trail. And, another thing that SettleShark does is it sends, demand letters via certified mail. It's all part of the process, right?
That's
Certified
good.
mail is there because it literally creates evidence, a record that you sent that to the company.
Okay.
We can't later say either in good faith or bad faith, we never got your demand. It's there.
Because it's certified. Somebody type that. Certified.
Absolutely.
Send the communication certified.
Absolutely.
If you're demanding something from a company, make sure you send it certified. This is good.
I mean, a lot of times you start out informally and say, okay, email, right? Phone isn't even good enough nowadays. A lot of times the calls are recorded, but you still want to create the trail, and email is a good option. You talk to people, you figure out whether they have the authority to negotiate. It has to get escalated oftentimes. Usually it's somebody higher up.
Okay.
And you pretty much insist on it, right? You have to kind of push. That's the thing. You have to push. And you have to say, I need to speak to this person, right? And start that process.
But what if the person that you need to speak to is only willing to communicate in writing or something? They're not willing to necessarily talk to you. So I don't know.
That's very possible. Yeah, they may say, well, I can't talk on the phone, but we can. That could be even better in some scenarios, because at that point now they are telling you the official response from the company's perspective regarding your situation.
Okay. So that's not a bad thing if they don't
talk
to you on the phone per se. Okay.
No, not at all. As long as they're communicating with you, that's good. And what's preferable is that there's some records regarding it.
Perfect.
And that you're speaking to the right person who has authority to negotiate on behalf of the company to reach a settlement.
That's great information. So thank you. What else do you say? What else do you advise? You say send the communication certified to ensure that the company receives it. And it's not a bad thing if they only communicate with you in writing, because then you have that information and it's the document that this is what the company representative officially said. Okay.
Right.
I love
it. And like I said, that all creates process, because at the end of all this might be arbitration, which is this idea that when you sign a contract with a company, in the fine print, it's going to oftentimes say that if there's ever a dispute between you and the company, that you're not going to go to court. You're instead going to go to something called arbitration.
Okay.
And that's something I had to learn about myself, dealing with these companies with my own issues that I mentioned earlier. I had to figure out what arbitration is. And that's another scenario that kind of blew me away, because it's remarkable in that my belief, and this is one of the things that SettleShark, uses, is that arbitration is actually something that can be good for the consumer.
Okay.
There's this
arbitration or court, knowing the difference and what's in the fine print is what.
Absolutely.
This is
so
great
it turns
information.
out, it turns out that arbitration. Have you ever watched The People's Court?
Yes.
For a consumer type of situation, which is what we're talking about. Anything less than $20,000, where the parties are a business and a person, right? Not business to business, but business and a person like you and me who've bought something or paid for something.
Mm-hmm.
If the amounts are less than $20,000 and you're dealing with a company of a medium or large size, there's a 90% chance that when you read the fine print, it's going to say we're going to go to arbitration if there's a dispute, which is like the people's court,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be conducted through a separate organization to maintain fairness called the American Arbitration Association.
Okay. American Arbitration Association.
Yeah.
American.
It's like
Okay.
AAA, but it's not at all related to the car AAA. It's AAA, American Arbitration Association. They are the biggest player when it comes to arbitration. They handle big arbitrations, by the way. When a big company sues another big company and they go to arbitration, they handle that. But it's a whole different scenario because that's called commercial arbitration. Consumer arbitration is way more straightforward. You can actually represent yourself in consumer arbitration.
Interesting.
And I've read the studies because other professors have done research on this.
Okay.
You have a 50-50 chance of winning your case in consumer arbitration when you just show up and represent yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm willing to bet and guess that, and through experience, that when you are someone who's organized, when you have your notes and your records, and again, these email transcripts,
Yeah.
and you show up on time, you're professional, you're not cursing, you're not, enraged.
Right.
If you are just somebody who shows up and does things procedurally the correct way, and again, consumer arbitration is a lot less formal than going to court, right? These arbitrators, who are judges and juries, by the way, they're judge and jury for these cases. There's no jury. These arbitrators are retired judges, professors, lawyers.
Right. They're professional in their own
And
right.
they're here to basically ensure fairness.
Good. Okay.
They will look at the consumer representing themselves, and they will understand that this person's not a lawyer, but they will understand the facts and they know the law, and they will half the time award in favor of the consumer, which is amazing, right?
That's good.
So yeah, the American Arbitration Association is the big player in all of this. Next time you sign a cell phone agreement, next time you sign, a credit card or rent a car,
right.
Look at the fine print. You're going to see American Arbitration Association in there, and it's going to be for consumer disputes.
This is really good.
Well, yeah, and that's just the drop in the bucket, because the other thing that I realized, which really blew me away, by the way, because I had to learn all this myself, right?
Yeah, that's a lot to learn, by the way.
It's a lot. But I'm a researcher. I like to do that. And
right.
Like I said, I practice DIY law. And the other thing that blew me away, which is something that nobody knows, they don't publicize this, when you start reading the rules of arbitration, because when companies sign on to the American Arbitration Association, and then they require consumers to sign contracts that have that in the fine print, the rules of consumer arbitration basically say that most of the fees associated with arbitration are going to fall on the company.
Right. Okay.
You as a consumer, if you want to start an arbitration claim against the company, will have to pay maximum $200.
This is universally, no matter, like, is this information that you're sharing in the United States, or is this globally? How is this? Is it?
I don't know if it's globally, but I know that it's true of the American Arbitration Association.
Okay, the American, right? Okay,
all over the U.S.
So all over the U.S., this is the case. But if you're in a different country, make sure that you find out what your arbitration association is, and also what the arbitration fees are, if you should go that route with the company. That's great information. But let me ask this too, David. If they are in other countries, they can still reach out to you for a do-it-yourself kind of thing, or is it more?
I mean, they could always reach out. I mean, on Twitter, someone from the UK asked me if we were working in the UK to help people. So far, we're not, but maybe one day we will be if we grow enough, which would be great. And I did some very basic research, and it turns out that in the UK, there are several regulators called ombudsmen that literally will help consumers in these situations. And you could file a claim with the ombudsman in the UK for consumer issues.
So it's all different.
It's just different language and different procedures, but there's systems all over the world to help consumers, basically, right? Going back to arbitration, the company has to pay most of the fees, which comes out to thousands of dollars out of their pocket. You as a consumer, to start the claim, will pay $200. You could even get that refunded back if you win the claim. You can hire a lawyer. I mean, nobody's saying you can't hire a lawyer, right? Sometimes if in arbitration, if you want representation and you can afford it, you hire a lawyer. That's going to cost you money. It may not be worth it.
And when you run out of money, your lawyer will definitely, it's not a personal relationship. They will end the relationship. I personally know that. No matter how you slice it, you can have the best interaction and the best experience while you're paying. But when you run out of money, your relationship ends.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's contract, basically. So you pay for the services. And so you could hire a lawyer. You're not going to get a lawyer on contingency fee, which, the attorneys, like the sponsors of your show, do a great job. They take on claims and get usually a percentage of the reward. For consumer arbitration, that's not an option. The dollar amounts are so low, but they're significant. Because I don't want to be out of pocket $3,000. I don't want to be out of pocket $5,000 or $10,000. No. For a lawyer, that's just, that's not, it's not an incentive for them to take on a case of this nature. Therefore, the DIY option is a solid alternative, as long as you understand the process, as long as you understand, how to behave appropriately and file correctly and do things correctly, which is why, we started SettleShark, was to literally just facilitate that entire process for consumers.
That's good.
That's it.
The mission, and we're going to talk after this commercial break more about it, but the mission of SettleShark is to promote access to justice for consumers across America. And there's a software that you specifically have, and we're going to talk about how that process works when people reach out to SettleShark. So before we take a commercial break, I do want to invite you all to donate to the Kim Jacobs Show. It is critically important that we have people that support the program so that we can continue to be on. We're on every day, every weekday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the funds that you all provide go towards our banners and flyers and staffing and you name it. In order for any production to operate and to be able to function at this level, there are funds that are required. So I encourage you to donate. You can do that through Cash App at $ Kim Jacobs Inc. or PayPal by going to paypal.me/Kim Jacobs Inc. or even through Venmo. Venmo is at the Kim Jacobs Show. And some people like to Zelle. So if you want to Zelle, you can just inbox me and I'll give you the Zelle information as well. All right. We're going to take a quick commercial break, David. Come back and hear about the way that SettleShark in particular works with clients. We'll be right back right after this break.
Welcome to Confidence Tones, where we use a proprietary audio development formula called audio immersion to provide an experience that's designed to help quickly and effortlessly generate positive change in the subconscious mind when used correctly. This experience is achieved using 4 primary building blocks: brainwave modulation, invocation of positive emotions, immersive imagination stimuli, and developmental suggestion. We know of no other source in the world that provides the synergistic combination. With a good pair of headphones, you'll be able to immerse yourself into audio that's designed specifically to help you feel better, do better, and live better.
All right, everyone, we're back and we are talking with David Orozco from SettleShark. And SettleShark is dealing with do-it-yourself demand letters. And he is is the owner. You're the owner, correct?
I'm one of 3 co-founders.
Co-founders. Okay. So as one of the co-founders, he's here today to talk to us about how to get money back in a properly demanding way. So talk to us about SettleShark.
Yeah. So after I dealt with these companies, like the moving company, the service provider, the car rental company, and the insurance company, I figured out an algorithm, basically, a series of steps on how to make this stuff work as an average person, perhaps, who needs to get their money back. And as a faculty member, I thought to myself, well, you know what? Maybe I'll write a research paper about this, because that's what I do.
Right, that's what you do for real, Northwestern, right?
Yeah, I've written books, papers, and that's what I do. I communicate my ideas and share those with a community of people of all different levels and types. And then I thought to myself, well, why do that? The impact might be pretty limited. Why not try to actually make this a reality for people?
Right.
And to do that, maybe start a company, right? So I partnered up with Lonnie Osborne, who's a genius programmer, Dr. Liddy Louis, who's a former Wall Street regulator and consumer expert. And we partnered up, and it took us 2 years to develop this software.
Wow.
And to program it. We did everything in-house. We didn't outsource anything. We did it all in-house. We tested it. It was great. And we leverage all these things that we've talked about. So we launched the company 2 years ago, and it's been a serious startup learning process and effort, in that we had our first sale a few weeks after we launched from someone we didn't even know. Completely, unknown person. And then we had our first success story a few months after that. So someone that we knew, a lot of this was friends and families and word of mouth. A friend of one of the other co-founders basically had bad gasoline. They went to the gas pump for one of these major gas companies that we all know and see on the corner. They pumped their car. He was an Uber driver at the time, and he would go to the same gas station in New Jersey all the time. And he used the mobile app for it.
Okay.
So he knew it couldn't be any other company. It was that company. Loyal customer for years. And all of a sudden, his engine wasn't working correctly. So he took it to a mechanic. The mechanic ran the computer and said, "You were sold some bad gasoline. We have to clean your engine now. Scrub it."
Out of here.
I know. I didn't even know. This is one of the cool things about SettleShark is you hear stuff that you've never even heard about before.
I have not heard of that.
I know. So he ended up spending $503
to get his gas cleaned.
To get his engine clean. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, to get his engine clean.
So he could keep earning a living, right? As an Uber driver. He kept emailing this company, calling them. They ignored him for months. He ends up using SettleShark. Within, I think it was 2 weeks, he gets a letter on the company letterhead saying, "We're going to process your claim. Send us your paperwork." Right? Process. If you don't do things a certain way, your rights are kind of almost like just on paper, right? They're not meaningful in many ways. So it's about understanding how to speak to these companies, how to speak their language, using things like demand letters, and then the follow through. And he ended up getting a check in the mail for that exact amount a few months after that. That was our first real validation.
Yeah. So he wasn't even trying to get extra money. He was just trying to get what he had to pay to get it compensated back, because he shouldn't have had to pay it, because the bad gas came from that particular entity. So
absolutely,
it's just right to get it back.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. That was our first real success story a few months after we launched. So then we knew that this system is going to work, right? It's going to help people.
That's good.
We've had other success stories since then, thankfully. We've had someone have an insurance claim that was denied and closed, reopened as a result of using a SettleShark demand letter. And now they're trying to negotiate up to $14,000 in reimbursement. So we'll see how that goes. But at least they got the case reopened for them when it was closed previously. We got someone in Michigan $1,400 back. This is another automotive related scenario where this person went to one of these quick oil change service providers.
Right.
They ended up draining the transmission fluid by accident incorrectly, and it kind of messed up his car. So he had to rent a car for several days and have to get it professionally restored. $1,400, right, as a result of the demand letter, when before they were kind of not really doing much. Another one that we got was a moving company. A colleague of mine here in Tallahassee had an issue with his moving company, and they ignored him for, I'm going to say it was more than 6 months. It could be up to a year, where the claim was just completely ignored. They gave him the runaround for months, and didn't pay him any money. He sent in a SettleShark letter, and the next day, this blew my mind. The next day, they offered him $700.
Yeah,
as a settlement.
That's crazy.
He's pushing back because he needs more to be properly reimbursed, right? They're
right.
lowballing.
And so that's not the amount. So he's going to go back to the drawing board.
He's lowballing. So they ended up offering 1,000. So they went from 700 to 1,000. It's still a lot lower than what he's asking for. So he might actually go to arbitration.
Wow.
And he's the first customer of ours, because we're now basically prototyping a new service that hasn't even been, made available on the website, but it will soon, where as a result of all these experiences, what we've learned is that there's a lot of consumers out there that don't want to deal with the headache or aggravation of sending the letter, certified mail. They don't want to deal with negotiations and follow-up. They don't want to deal with that. They have a lot going on in their lives. They don't want to deal with the aggravation. They don't want to deal with the confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
It's negative. And they don't want to deal with the whole idea of, how do I start an arbitration claim? So now what we've decided to do is adapt our business model and literally tell our customers, right, that we will take over the entire claim and be their negotiating agent. We will basically negotiate for them. They will always have the final say on whether to keep going forward or to take a settlement. And we'll do that for a pretty low fee, and also a percentage of the settlement amount, right?
Okay. So you basically become their pseudo attorney person.
Well, no, we can't say that we're attorneys because we're not practicing law.
Right. Okay. So
we're not giving them it's fine. We're not giving them legal advice. We're not telling them this is what you should do.
Right.
Again, this is
because the views expressed or what I just said was a statement from Kim. It was clearly not accurate, but it's not reflective of the show or SettleShark.
No. So I mean, we're not telling people how to apply the law to their facts and what legal decisions they should make.
Right.
What we are saying is, this is what the law is, right? We're clarifying things. We're pointing them to things like the American Arbitration Association, telling them about process and how things can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to them to decide if they want to go in that direction. And also, if there's a settlement offer, they're the ones who decide whether they want to settle or they want to negotiate further. We will help them negotiate. And if so, we can even go all the way to arbitration, right?
With them or on their behalf.
Well, yeah, we'll file the paperwork and we'll pay the fee. And that'll open up the whole case for arbitration for them to just literally show up and tell the story about how the company didn't do what was necessary under the circumstances. So
make sure if you all have questions, go ahead and pop them over in the comments section. I see some people are typing comments. Mackenzie, if you would backstage, pull those up for me so I can acknowledge some. I see Dennis Spraggin saying much love to everybody. And he's tuned in. Thank you so much, Dennis. Y'all share this broadcast as well. Let's see other comments that came in, because I don't want to disregard anything that you all may want to have happen from the studio audience as well, while we have David here on the show. One question while I'm looking up this, David, that comes to mind is there are companies that are asking for funds, but the person that they're asking for funds from is not the accurate person. Mm-hmm. So I can't talk in codes. It's so hard for me to talk in codes. I'm trying to think of the right wording. I'm just going to tell you. So I have a situation, right, that is the account that they have tried to attach to me is not mine. But they have been very diligent in trying to get these funds. And I've been very diligent in responding and saying, listen, provide me with the original application, because this is not me. And I'm not going to pay bulk thousands of dollars for something that does not belong to me.
Yeah, right.
So, but then they went to court and they were able to I didn't even go to court because I didn't even know about it. So I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't in court. But I did go and get some more extra communication going to the judge and to everybody to make sure everybody knows this is not me. So
Yeah.
some kind of way, it's beyond just paying a debt because it's not a debt that belongs to me.
Right.
How do you resolve something like that whenever they are clearly like adamant that it's going to follow me and be on my credit and everything,
Totally.
but it's not me? What do I do in that
Absolutely.
situation?
Yeah, and that takes me back to the car rental scenario, which was the car was involved in an accident. It was someone else's fault because the car was parked.
Right.
So we were lawfully parked. Somebody rear ends the car. That other person's car insurance had liability, right? And they even said it. They openly said it. They said, "Yep, we are liable. We are going to pay for the repairs of this car that you rented."
Right.
And yet the car rental company is sending me a $3,000 bill, right? And telling me that if I don't pay, it's going to go to collections, right?
Right.
Or even litigation, maybe even. So at that point, a demand letter is the first step, right? Literally saying this is the law that applies in this jurisdiction, right? And again, for consumers in every state, there's something called a unfair practices and deceptive Trade Practices Act, which is literally a consumer protection law in every state. And consumers, who are being basically, deceived in some way, can always say this is a violation of this statute because my rights have been violated as a consumer, right?
Okay.
If somebody is acting in a dishonest way, either fraudulently or just deceptively, because I am literally telling you this is not me. I never signed this contract. You have the wrong person. I didn't cause damage to this car. This insurance company has literally gone on the record to say they're going to cover the liability. It's not my fault. They have to stop that. Companies have to stop that. That's just basic textbook, consumer protection. Right. So if you cite the law, right, and you tell these companies, I'm not responsible, they need to stop. It's very, very straightforward like that. They have to stop. But again, the law is 90% process. So unless you say it a certain way, they just won't get it or they just won't stop, right?
Wow. So you have with SettleShark, because this is going to be the important piece. With SettleShark, you have systematized it in a way that is do it yourself. And the prices are very reasonable. Like I saw online here, let me go over to the page. It was something like $47. Did I see 47? Yeah. $47?
Yeah. And it gives you a fighting chance to either get this stuff off, your back in terms of people trying to get bogus claims on you, or get your money back, like these people who've gotten hundreds or even thousands of dollars back.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. One of the reasons why, we started SettleShark is because in America right now, it is very well accepted by most legal professionals and scholars, judges, that we are in a access to justice crisis in America right now.
Okay.
Our legal system is failing the average person in many ways. So one of the reasons why we started the company was to help in that regard, right? Let's start restoring justice to the average person in these very straightforward commercial consumer scenarios.
I love that. And what we did was we put over in the comments section, you can just cut and paste SettleShark.com. And it's a way for you to go right there, sign up for the $47 amount, and you'll be able to get whatever templates are available for you. And then you can also reach out directly to David. And do you respond to this yourself, David, or is it?
I do. I check the email every day.
So info@SettleShark.com, and you can call 888-704-0708. Again, that's 888-704-0708. And definitely let them know that you saw him on the Kim Jacobs Show.
Please do. Yeah, please do.
Okay, so I want to make sure that people walk away with some basic steps. If for some reason they did not reach out, which I'm hoping that they will, and I believe that they will, but at the end of the day, they may have an interest in just typing something at home and doing it and sending it. Do you have any basic first, second, third kind of steps that would help people walk themselves through the process when we come back after this break? Okay.
Sure.
All right. So let me pull this up. Wait a minute, Mackenzie. I'm going to pull it up because I actually didn't tell her that. All right, we're still on, but all right, everyone, listen, reach out to Getinsured.solutions. They help you with final life expense insurance so that the family can keep more money in your own household versus having to put it all out to burial expenses. And you can reach out to Samantha Benson at Getinsured.solutions. Her phone number is 704-499-3616. And she's masterful at teaching you how to make that happen for you and your family. All right, so tell us some 1, 2, 3 kind of steps if you're in this process.
Right. So, I mean, I'm trying to go back to when I was first dealing with these issues, right? Because it's overwhelming and it's frustrating.
Yes.
And I could just imagine how some folks without legal knowledge or training, would have to deal with this. And it's a lot. Especially if you have, other commitments and issues and pressures in your life. This is not the thing you want to deal with, right? But you have to, because otherwise it will financially impact you in a negative way. So I would say, know that the law is on your side, right? Even though it doesn't feel that way, the law, if again, going back to ethics and good faith, if you have done everything that you're supposed to do, and you're not being treated correctly or as expected under a legal arrangement, like a contract, for example.
Yes.
The law is on your side.
Okay.
There's going to be all kinds of hurdles that you're going to have to jump over to get to where you're finally in an okay place, right? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be straightforward. Be realistic about it. Now, another thing that people don't realize is that the law is never fast. It's process oriented, and there's a lot of steps and there's a lot of delay. Nothing ever gets done quickly, right?
That's good.
Things just take time. They grind it out. In fact, that's part of the strategy, is to delay things.
Yes.
And one of the tactics that companies do is to try to run out the clock, right? They try to run out the clock by not getting back to you, by confusing you, by sending you to someone else, by not returning your call, whatever.
When you say run out the clock, what does that look like? Because I hear that statement, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so that means
time. I get that.
That means two things, right? In the law, and again, this is process, again, there's something called the statute of limitations.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant.
Which basically means that if you don't file a claim within a certain window, which usually starts when the breach occurs, when you've been injured. If you don't file your claim within that window, you lose your rights. And every state has a different clock, but you need to act within that window. So one strategy would be to run the clock so that you lose your rights down the road, right?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That's one thing. The other thing is to demoralize and frustrate and confuse. And running the clock means that the chances that a consumer will basically get something decrease over time. That person's going to give up a lot of times, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So they'll try to run the clock for various reasons, right? And again, understand that that's the game and that you're fighting that game, right?
That's good.
You're fighting that game, right? You have to do that. So understand that the law is on your side. You're not alone. There's a lot of resources. SettleShark is one, but there's a lot of other resources online. You can go online. Another thing I would recommend is to go to nonprofits. So I teach students business law every year, and I use several cases that I've created myself from really
Okay.
cool stories that I've seen over the years. One story involved an entrepreneur who had to go up against a big company. They were being bullied on a trademark issue. They had gotten a cease and desist letter. That person went to a law school and got free legal representation from a law school. Law professors operate what are called clinics,
Okay.
where literally they bring in law students and they operate as like a little law firm, and they help people who don't have access to resources.
Okay.
Take advantage of that, right? There's all kinds of resources. You have to be a little entrepreneurial to find them.
Yeah, I was
But
going to say,
just
how do you do that? You just call the school and say,
call the
hey, who
school.
is your
Yeah.
law clinic
Yes,
department? And
exactly.
like, so I would
By
just
the way,
call you if you were a professor at Northwestern, which you really are. Okay. So I would say, hey, David, I'm trying to reach someone that can help me with a claim that I'm dealing with. And I
yep,
don't really want to pay a lawyer, but I was trying to find out if you have a student in a clinic that would be able
that's
to
it.
help me. That's
That's
simple
it.
as that.
As simple as that.
You
And
know
by
how
the
much
way,
money
if
people
you
can save by doing that, and they can get
a
some
lot.
credit hours for helping me.
Yes. Oh, the other thing too is that the bar associations have pro bono programs as well. Call your state bar association and say, who are the people who handle these kind of issues pro bono, which is Latin for free. That's what the lawyers call it, pro
That's
bono.
perfect. And so it's not that you are getting a diminished quality of
No.
service. It's just that you're not having to come out of your pocket. And is it based on income, or it doesn't matter?
Yeah, well, usually it's they're going to ask you some questions and interview you, and they'll basically find out that you're a small business that can't afford a lawyer, or that you're somebody who can't afford a lawyer, and then they'll agree to represent you on that basis.
That's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. So know that you're not alone. Understand that the law is on your side as long as you've operated with good faith and that you're following, the terms of whatever agreement or the law is,
Good.
and that it's going to take a while, and that the game on the other side is to delay and frustrate.
Okay.
It's all designed to basically ensure that money stays in one place and doesn't go to another place, right?
This
And
has
that's
been
what's really unfair and corrupt and tragic about our system, and why access to justice is such a big problem today.
Yes. That's a big deal. Everything that you're saying is so huge. I want to just remind you all too, with Confidence Tones, I didn't say this earlier, go to confidencetones.com, and America's top health coach, Jody Bear, is the one that has more information about those confidence tones. So reach out to her at 800-820-0584 or visit drjod.com. Listen, what you're saying is so helpful and so profound. If you all have questions, make sure you type them in the comment section. We have a few more minutes here together. We have about 8 more minutes. I do want to go to another commercial and introduce majorpt.com and let you learn more about his services. We'll be right back. Wait 1 minute.
And you just need help to make that transformation. My name is Ivan Jacobs from Major PT, and allow me to be of service to you as your private personal trainer. In my personal case, I've lost over 100 pounds and I've kept it off. I have made a total transformation, and now we help other people make transformations just like that. What we offer is mobile personal training, where we drive out to your location or we meet up at a location to exercise together, as well as nutrition coaching and habit coaching. We guarantee results or your money back. We understand how important it is and how difficult it can be trying to navigate nutrition and fitness alone. So work with us to make your transformation possible. Our slogan is train you once and train you forever. We don't hope to keep you as clients forever. We hope to inform you so that you know what to do in your own day-to-day life. The workout program is custom tailored to you based off of gym frequency, assessments, and personal preference. We focus on progressively overloading in a safe and proper manner. We can meet up at the gym or your own home. I understand the importance of convenience and will work with what you want. Through the use of applications, you will have access to see the entire program from your phone. You can contact me, track your weight, and add personal goals all within the app. We will help you develop and maintain healthy habits that support your fitness goals for the long term. Together, we can identify areas for positive change and develop strategies to help you stay on track. Nutrition is a crucial component of achieving any fitness goal. As a personal trainer, I understand its importance and how it can make or break your progress. That's why I offer personalized meal recommendations as part of my all-in-one monthly program. With the help of apps, you can access your meal plan and track your nutrition right from your phone, making it easy to stay on track and make progress towards your fitness goals. Let me take care of the nutrition aspect so you can focus on your workouts and achieving your goals. If you would like, I can even accompany you to the grocery store to help you shop for healthier choices or set up an Instacart delivery right to your front door. Click the link below so we can schedule a free consultation to discuss further. We're excited to work with you, and see you later.
Get us back here and unmute it. All right. So that's majorpt.com. And just in all fair balance to everyone, Ivan Jacobs is one of my sons. And so he is actually officially a sponsor. He battles cystic fibrosis, and it's a lung disease that he kicks in the head, and made a decision to lose about 100 pounds personally. And he's taken on 5 new clients and thought you'd want to know about it today. So majorpt.com is all through his diet. It's not diet. He said, don't say diet. Exercise and proper eating. And he is masterful at it, a National Association sports medicine trained and a student at UNC Charlotte. So I just want to make sure I introduce him to you today. All right. So tell us, David, I think first of all, I want to go back and recap because you've told us so much. It's not like we don't have plenty to go off of. So let me just go back here for a minute and look at start everything that you were saying earlier. So you said one thing you said is making sure you're speaking to the right person that has the authority to make things right. That's a huge thing you said in the beginning. Sending the communication certified to ensure that the company receives it was something else you said. Let's see, you have what is the fine print in your contract, the arbitration versus court. These are incredible points. American Arbitration Association, and if you're in a different country, finding out what your arbitration association is that handle those type of scenarios, so maybe you don't have to go to court. Filing within the statute of the limitation, because the timing is very important, as making sure that the timing doesn't run out. And then you said the law is on your side as a consumer. That is a reassuring thing to hear.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see, did anybody have any question in the studio? This is truly inspiring. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Thanks, Dennis.
All right. Say some more. Speak, man.
Listen, I mean, yeah, no, SettleShark is here to help. So we want more customers. We're a startup. We have all the struggles that a startup has in terms of getting the word out. And we're learning. That's the amazing thing, is we are learning a lot through these cases. And nothing gives us more satisfaction than helping someone. When we hear one of these stories where because of our service, they got listened to, they got recognized, they were compensated. That's our mission. That keeps us going, right? That gives us fuel to keep going, because our mission is big. We want to even the playing field for the American consumer, right? And that's just the scenario right now that we don't unfortunately have in this country. Is I'm going to guess that billions of dollars every year are kept unlawfully by companies. Billions, and somebody's keeping that money, and it's not the average person.
Wow.
So we're here to help.
Inspiring and informative. And now I wanted to find out, is there any industry that's off limits to what you all can do? Like, for example, if it's someone dealing with an IRS issue, or if someone's dealing with I don't know the different industries, but all kinds of industries.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So yeah, we're limited to consumer issues. And again, that's the scenario where in your contract, it's because you and a business typically signed an agreement.
Okay.
and it's you as an individual, as a consumer. You bought a refrigerator, you rented a car, whatever. And the other side is a company of some sorts, right?
Okay.
And it could even be landlord tenant, right? Those are individuals renting places. The company's a management company or an owner, corporation. Those are all consumer issues. And anything under $20,000, right? Because anything more than that's going to be probably worth hiring a lawyer at that point, right? In terms of, I'm going to eat the cost and I need to go to court or I need to go to arbitration. I need to have that representation to make sure that we win this case. But again, like I said, in most consumer cases, as long as you represent yourself, with good faith and in an organized manner, show up, you have at least a 50-50 chance of winning your case. That's what the studies have shown.
That's really good. And so simply reach out to David with SettleShark at 888-704-0708. And you can also email him at info@SettleShark.com and learn more about their do-it-yourself kit template that you can implement yourself, or more about the services that they personally offer to walk you hand in hand through the process. Am I saying that correctly, David?
You are, absolutely. Yeah. So we will either provide the letter for you, which works a lot of times, or if you don't want to deal with the aggravation or the hassle and want us to take over the processing of all this and serve as your negotiating agent, we are happy to do that and try to get you your money that you're entitled to.
Well, that's today's episode, everyone. I think it was extremely informative. Please put your thoughts in the comments section. And thank you for being a valued member of the studio audience at the Kim Jacobs Show. Thank you, David, for coming on and sharing this valuable information that I believe is a game changer and very helpful to me personally. And I thank you for tuning in today to today's episode. Make sure you all follow David and reach out to him at SettleShark.com and get your do-it-yourself kit.
Yeah, and also,
is there any personal thing that you wanted to say before we close out? Any last comments?
Yeah, we're also online on social media. So if you want to just keep track of what we're doing with announcements and stuff like that, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter.
Let me go follow you right now.
Yeah, go ahead and check us out. And that will help us out a lot too. And just spread the word. You might
everybody
know someone.
Go to SettleShark. SettleShark. You said just literally type in SettleShark.
Yeah,
I see your logo. Yes. Yeah. SettleShark.
And if you scroll down a little, you'll see all the social media icons there where we're active. But yeah, and just let people know that we're here.
I just followed you. I just followed you on Instagram, and I'll follow you. Where else can I follow you on
LinkedIn? Yeah, LinkedIn's good. Twitter. We're even on TikTok as well. So yeah, we're on
SettleShark, the company is right there. I just followed you on LinkedIn, and you are on Facebook as well.
Sadly, no, we're not on Facebook, but we hope to be on there soon.
Well, that's okay. What you're doing is making a difference. And I'm sure every single success story that you've won something on their behalf or helped them win something on their own behalf, they're quite grateful for SettleShark. So thank you for gracing us with your presence today here on the Kim Jacobs Show. You have made a difference. And have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look